Hello, my name is Samuel Collins III, and I'm a certified tourism ambassador here in Galveston, Texas. I'm also a financial advisor and serve on the board with the National Trust for Historic Preservation. This year, I would like to invite you to be a part of a very historic event that is happening at 22nd and Strand with the installation of the Absolute Equality Juneteenth mural. Many of you have heard the Juneteenth story about Gordon Granger coming to Galveston, Texas on June 19, 1865. But what has been left out of the story for far too long is that Granger was not by himself. Major Granger came into Galveston with thousands of United States colored troops and other Union soldiers. Matter of fact, by January of 1866, 75% of the Union forces were United States colored troops. But back to June 19, 1865. When Granger arrived here in Galveston, General Lee had already surrendered in April 9, 1865, and the Civil War was declared over. But Texas had not yet surrendered. So Granger and thousands of troops were ordered to come to Texas to enforce the Emancipation Proclamation, and Granger also issued 5 general orders. He signed General Order 1 and 2, and then General Orders 3, 4, and 5 were signed by Major Frederick Emory. General Order number 3 is the one associated with Juneteenth. In it, it states that all slaves are free. But it also states that this includes an absolute equality. What does the definition of absolute and equality mean? We're still fighting for absolute equality today. So the enslaved people of Texas that heard those words of General Order number 3, or eventually someone read them to them, they would have thought absolute equality meant exactly that. For far too long, we have not told the entire story of our American history. I often equate our American history to a tossed salad. The stories that you hear all the time are like the lettuce and tomatoes. Those are the main ingredients. It doesn't mean that they're more important than the other ingredients, but that's often the first things you put into a green tossed salad. But that salad includes sliced onions, bell peppers, pickles, olives, hot peppers. And when you put the hot peppers in that salad, it may spice it up. When you slice into the onion, sometimes it can make you cry. If you have croutons in that salad, sometimes it could be hard to swallow or bite. So some of the history that has been left out of our history books are sometimes difficult to talk about. But there are success stories that we should celebrate. Galveston is an island of success. It is an island of champions. Those United States colored troops that came into Galveston in 1865 were fighting for freedom. They were true patriots. They were ordered to Galveston because many white soldiers had mustered out after Lee's surrender and went back home to their families because they had been fighting longer. Abraham Lincoln in 1862 had signed the Emancipation Proclamation in September to go into force January 1st, 1863, but the Confederate States did not recognize Lincoln as their president. Therefore, they had no intentions of sharing that news or information. Now, many think the enslaved people of Texas got the news late, but it's not true. Newspapers throughout Texas between 1862 and 65 had printed many stories about the Emancipation Proclamation or referenced it over 125 times, at least one author has found. So it's not that the news was late, it's just that they had no intentions of enforcing the Emancipation Proclamation. My grandmother has a childhood friend, attorney Faye Williams, that says it was not the piece of paper, her grandfather told her, it was not the piece of paper that freed the people, it was the men with the guns. And the men with the guns that she was referring to were the soldiers, the Union soldiers, many being United States colored troops, thousands of United States colored troops. I referenced that by 1866 January, there were 19,768, according to a report by General Sheridan, 19,768 United States colored troops and 6,500 white soldiers in the state of Texas. Many of them had begun to come into Texas, the Navy, as early as late April, trying to get Galveston to surrender, but Galveston would not surrender. Galveston did not officially surrender until June 5th, and Granger did not get here until the 18th or 19th. So General Order number 3 is the one associated with Juneteenth, and the story we tell of freedom has been too narrow. This year's public art storytelling at 22nd and Strand will expand the narrative of our shared American history. We're all a part of this American salad, and we should tell the story of those that contributed to bringing the message of freedom here to Texas. So in that mural by original artists and his artists, the creatives, they have depicted the almost 500-year history from the first enslaved person that arrived here in Galveston in 1528, Esteban, some refer to as Estenvinico. He was shipwrecked here in 1528. All the way through Granger arriving with those soldiers. And the mural also depicts going forward into the future as we continue the fight for absolute equality or march toward absolute equality. Now, absolute equality does not mean equal results. Absolute equality means that everyone has the opportunity without barriers or hurdles put in their path for their personal development. Because as each individual reaches their full potential, our communities will reach their full potential. So there's a Chinese proverb that says, if you want 1 year of prosperity, grow grain. If you want 10 years of prosperity, grow trees. If you want 100 years of prosperity, grow people. So it's my effort to educate the public about this history, our shared history. Juneteenth is just one of many stories here on Galveston Island. Galveston is filled with historical figures like Norris Wright Cuney, Richard Nelson, George T. Ruby, Jesse McGuire Dent, and we cannot forget our most famous native son, Jack Johnson, the Galveston Giant. These are the stories of individuals that reached their full potential after freedom came to the island. So, Maya Angelou also has a quote, "History, despite its wrenching pain, cannot be unlived, but if faced with courage, need not be lived again." So as we begin to reimagine monuments and memorials in public spaces, we will create outdoor classrooms where individuals can learn this history. This summer, you'll be able to take your smartphone down to the intersection of 22nd and Strand and point it at the mural. The augmented reality will allow you to see videos to teach you the history of the images in the mural. Included in that image is the image of Harriet Tubman. Now, she never came to Texas, but she was part of the Underground Railroad. She was a Union spy during the Civil War. But more importantly, when people think about the Underground Railroad, they think about running north to Canada. The enslaved people of Texas would not take a long trip to Canada. They would just simply have to go south and step across the Rio Grande into freedom, because Mexico had outlawed slavery in the 1820s. Now, Texas won its independence in 1836, became a nation, and then later joined the Union in 1845, December 29th. So freedom was delayed for those enslaved people from 1836 to June 19th, 1865. As you stand at the intersection and point your camera at the mural, the augmented reality will pop up four-dimensional videos so that you can learn the rest of the story. I invite you to participate in this story. I'm also going to be working to teach some young people to do walking tours, a freedom walk from the Middle Passage Monument that is by the Seaport Museum to the Juneteenth marker on 22nd and Strand. From there, you'll move to the U.S. Custom House, the old one on 20th Street, where DSW is now housed, into the old Galveston Courthouse Square, and then to Reedy Chapel. This is the path that the soldiers took in 1865 as they posted the news of General Order Number 3 and to share the message of freedom with the people here in Galveston. From Reedy, you can move down to Ashton Villa. And while there's no documented evidence that anything took place at Ashton Villa, it is very much a part of our Juneteenth celebrations because it commemorates what happened in many plantation sites where the enslaved people were gathered at a home or a central location and the news was shared with them. So we want to encourage you to come out to those spaces this summer for Juneteenth and learn this history. So that Freedom Walk starts at that Middle Passage marker, the Juneteenth marker, the Custom House on 20th, the old Courthouse Square, Reedy Chapel on Broadway, which in 1865 and 1866 was referred to as the Colored Church on Broadway, over to Ashton Villa and back to the Juneteenth marker is a little less than 2 miles. So I want to encourage you to get out and walk and exercise. This is going to be a fun tour. And we're going to share with the rest of the world that no matter where they go, whenever you talk about Juneteenth, Galveston is the birthplace of Juneteenth. Galveston is home. I'm a BOI, but I want to share some breaking news here. Everyone's BOI. Born on island, born off island. So we want to invite all the BOIs to visit the island. And I want to invite you, the students, to come down to the intersection while the artists are installing this storytelling space and sharing this history with us. The augmented reality is not ready yet, but by this summer, those videos will be ready. And then I want you to tell your friends, tweet about it, put it on Instagram, that Galveston is an island of success, an island of champions. From Jack Johnson being the first world heavyweight champion to your very own Ball High graduate from 2011, Mike Evans, who is now a world champion, a Super Bowl champion. That's a rich history of champions here on the island. There's a rich history of success of individuals like John Rufus Gibson, Jesse McGuire Dent, T.D. Armstrong, Mr. B.J. Strode. These are just a few names of individuals that you need to learn the history of. So again, I invite you to be a part of this. We have a GoFundMe page for Absolute Equality Mural. Send your friends to that page. We have a website, www.juneteenthlegacyproject.com. Go visit the website, learn this history, share the link, and invite your friends to be a part of this absolute equality mission. We're on a mission to make sure that everyone has the absolute opportunity to become their very best. And I want to encourage you in your studies and in your efforts, become the very best individual that you can, because someone in the future is waiting for you to become your very best, just like that island native son, Jack Johnson, become the best in the world. Thank you.